welcome back to the channel. So I have this beautiful fall Maine day, temperatures around 70 degrees, and this canoe, which is my original build, the Wabanaki cedar strip, is the canoe that I'm going to be using next weekend on a trip with my daughter. And it needed some attention. After taking it on the Down East Lakes Water Trail 2 weekends ago, I scratched it up some, and then I also recognized some maintenance that needed to be done. So I'm using this Dremel tool, which I absolutely enjoy using. It's got a pyramid-shaped head, and with it comes hook stick type sanding pads, and progressionally I'll be using the 60 to 80 and 120 to accomplish what I want to do with the gunnels. And then when the gunnels are done, and then I apply Gleam, Total Boat Gleam 2.0, which is a great product. I'll be using that with a foam brush. I'll apply that and it'll dry quickly, because that's what Gleam 2.0 does. You can get multiple coats in one day. After that, following that, I will tape off the gunnels, and then I will do a light sanding with 120 of the hull, and then I'll apply a fresh coat, roll and tip method on the entire hull to get it back to its original beauty. I did paint this hull a few years back because I wanted some color to my cedar strip, just personal preference. So that's what I'm going to do again. The only problem I see with Rust-Oleum paints is that the primer coat is always white. So when you make contact with a rock and you scrape your hull, through the primary, the final coat of the paint, you're going to see the primer coat. I've tried tinting in the past, and you just end up using more paint than primer, and what's the point? So what I'm going to do is sand down some of the rough spots, get it smooth again, and then just roll and tip. And this is the maintenance that I would do normally every year before storage, but I'm getting this to go for another trip that is going to be a special trip for me. So stay tuned. I'm going to be working on the gunnels on each side, obviously, and then I'll flip the canoe, do the top side of the gunnels, apply the Gleam, let that dry. I'm going to try and do 3 coats of Gleam, and then I'll get to sanding the hull and rolling, tipping that. Okay, now that the gunnels, at least the bottom side of the gunnels, have been sanded and smooth, I'm going to move to the hull now, because afterwards I'll flip the hull and then do the top side of the gunnels, and in preparation for the application of the Gleam. So I'm going to be using 120 just to sand down all the rough spots. It's going to be a light, very light pass with an orbital sander. Okay, so the entire canoe is sanded, took down all the high spots, and I gently used 80, I started with 80 grit to take down the high spots and really smooth out the chips and nicks, and then I went to 120 and 240. And now it's going to be ready just for a simple acetone wipe down, and then an application of the Rust-Oleum Marine topsides coating, bright red paint, and we're going to do the roll and tip method for that. I'm ready to now clean the hull with acetone. I'm going to be using Clean Strip acetone. It's a product that is available at my local hardware store that I like to go to. And then after I clean the entire hull with the acetone, That's going to provide a nice bonding surface again, because the top coat here has been roughed up with the 120 grit sandpaper, and it's going to receive it very well. So that's my next step. I'm going to get into it now. So with the roll and tip method, you want to apply the paint with a roller first and then tip it with a foam brush. Some people will use a bristle brush. I have personally found that a foam brush works better for me. So the whole concept of roll and tip method is to break down the air bubbles that exist after rolling out the paint on your surface. So the foam brush will gently blend that in and eliminate those air bubbles, allowing for a nice smooth transition for the next coat. And if the smooth coat doesn't exist, afterwards, after painting, then wet sanding is necessary, which I typically do anyway. So I'm going to continue rolling out and tipping the rest of the hull until it's complete, and then I'll evaluate in about an hour or two whether or not I feel as though the orange peeling is not adequate. You don't want orange peeling, and if there's too much that exists after the tip method, then I will sand it down smooth and then reapply another coat. Well, that's as far as I can go today. I thought I could get it all done today, but it's just not the case. Darkness is upon us shortly, and tomorrow I'll do a second coat on the canoe, and then I will apply the Gleam 2.0 to the gunnels. So thanks for tuning in, and stand by for part 2.